just way too close to call. And joining us live right now is KCRA political expert Mike Lurie. Thanks so much.
Oh, it's great to be here.
All right, let's start off with some of the hotly contested races that still remain undecided this morning.
Well, some close ones certainly in the California congressional congregation. We have CD3, for example, Kevin Kiley versus the Democrat there, Kermit Jones. That one is really close, about a 6-point spread so far, and that is also the registration advantage for Republicans in that district. It's about a 6-point spread, so about what it is expected. Obviously, there's some other races, Josh Harder versus Tom Patty, and a lot of them went right down to the wire.
Now, Republicans appear to have gained some seats over Democrats in Congress. What happens should the Republicans gain control of the House?
I think we're going to see a real fundamental shift in the way America supports Ukraine. That's something that Republicans have been very cautious about, and we're seeing polls now that show, the Wall Street Journal, for example, had a poll that showed 48% of Republicans say we're giving too much support to Ukraine. So we likely are going to see some pullback on that, some of the money that's going, billions and billions of dollars, the Republican Party becoming more isolationist, becoming more nationalistic and less supportive of America's efforts with Ukraine. So that's one fundamental shift I think we'll see. Also, some of the programs involving student loan forgiveness not going to be allowed under the new Republican Congress if that happens in the House. So there may be some other shifts as well.
Anything surprise you last night?
I think the biggest surprise was the Republican red wave that everybody had been talking about. Didn't really happen. It was more of a splash than anything else. Traditionally, what happens in off years, midterm elections, is the party in power, if the president is unpopular, and Joe Biden has an approval rating of about 45%, so that's clearly below water. When that happens, that party will typically lose about 28 to 30 seats. That's dating back historically to World War II. Well, we're not seeing that. We're seeing instead that the Republicans will gain maybe 6 or 8 and perhaps 9 seats in Congress. They will control the U.S. House of Representatives, but the Senate, it's still up in the air. So that Republican red wave, I think the Democrats will get a little wet, but they're not going to drown.
So staying on that same topic, as far as the Republicans go, their expectations, they had much loftier expectations. It appears that those who had the backing from President Trump didn't do as well as they had anticipated, while those who, perhaps were running away from the MAGA message appeared to do quite well. So what does that say to you about the messaging right now as far as what Republicans are putting out there?
It appears that the Donald Trump Midas touch effect is maybe not as strong as it used to be. We're seeing that in a lot of races. John Fetterman, who was the lieutenant governor, now winning as U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, was an endorsed candidate, Mehmet Oz was the endorsed candidate, the Republican, but that didn't happen. Instead, Fetterman won. Same is true in Georgia, where his hand-picked candidate Herschel Walker, in a back-and-back battle right now for control of the Senate in Georgia. Other candidates, Kari Lake, the Republican candidate for governor in Arizona, in a very tight contest, and many others where the Trump endorsement, magical maybe in previous years, now not so much.
Yeah, the former President Trump had said, I think it was just yesterday, I believe, that he would have a big announcement coming up following the election. So what do you think is in store for him, and obviously what's ahead for potentially 2024?
Well, I talked to a Republican consultant last night who said definitively that Donald Trump will announce for president next Tuesday, November 15th. So that's going to be a very decisive announcement. It's going to change the political landscape. It's going to start the political season before Thanksgiving.
Right. Something else for folks to talk about, right?
That's absolutely, yeah. Now, will Gavin Newsom run against him? Who knows?
Yeah, and that's the big question because, again, Governor Newsom has said time and time again that he is not looking at the White House. But what are your instincts telling you? What are the tea leaves telling you right now?
Well, Gavin Newsom has said that he's had sub-zero interest in running for president. However, he's also done a really good job of increasing his national footprint, his focus, by buying ads, for example, in Texas and Florida, which was blasting some of the Republican governors there with regard to the economy and other issues. But he's done that. He also bought billboards, 7 billboards in 7 Republican-leaning states, saying if you want to have an abortion, come to California. So these are issues that resonate with Democrats. He's clearly trying to increase his national footprint and laying the groundwork perhaps for a run for president in 2024. But he's a little reluctant because he may have to go against Kamala Harris, who is one of his trusted friends and allies. So we'll see, but he's very ambitious, so anything could happen.
Bottom line, that question is not going to go away anytime soon for him.
Yeah, in fact, today the Sacramento Bee has a big article about what's Gavin Newsom going to do. So it's in the talk. It's a national kind of trending topic. Gavin Newsom, you know, anytime someone becomes governor of California, wins re-election with a decisive margin as he did last night, you're automatically a candidate on the national scale. He carries a lot of clout. He earned a lot of political chits, if you will, by being so national in his pushback against Republicans. He's earned a lot of political capital from the Democratic Party. He will be a force to be reckoned with and a name we're going to hear a lot about on the national scene coming in the years ahead.
Oh boy. All right, Mike, thanks so much for your time today.
My
Again,
pleasure.
a lot to keep track of.